In today's video, one of my, in fact, maybe my favorite category of box. Lots of boxes in a studio, but this is a different type of box. It's a desktop interface for digital plugins. So I've got two loaded up, for example. There are 4 boxes here, but I've loaded up 2 as an example. So at the moment we have 2 digital plugins running digitally in my computer over here. And to control these plugins, I can use these interfaces here, these physical digital boxes. So that one, for example, point, that one, the one on the left, I can control and manipulate with this guy here. So if I want to change a time or a preset or what you've seen plugins before, if I want to change a parameter, I can simply press buttons. I mean, there's these buttons and things you can play with. Zoom. See? I can use these guys to change the plugins over here. So all the advantage of digital, but without the hassle of analog. If I say save a project, it's saved in the DAW, in the project, because it's a digital plugin. But I can get that hands-on, tactile connectedness of analog. It's the best of both worlds. Whoa. In fact, let me show you something. So you're probably now wondering, how does it connect? Well, it connects via USB. So you see the cables, forget the focus. So connects via USB, you plug it in via a USB cable into the computer box, and then it automatically connects. Literally, I've got to show you this. Let's say I want to use this guy, the spatial expander. It says there, you can just about see, hopefully, TC1210. Complicated name, that's okay. So we then go to our plugin things on the computer box, and then we go to it wasn't pointing at the right part of the screen. Do it again. So boom. Let's say I add a TC1210. Now, what will happen is it will load up, and then there'll be these guys here. When it first loads, it'll go red, and then in about a fraction of a second, so fast you'll barely see it, it'll connect and go green automatically. No fancy setup at all. So you do a, wait, are we still in shot? Yeah. So we do a boom, bam. Look at that. Look at that. Automatically connected. And now you can see we can now use this to control the plugin, which is awesome. It automatically connects. Oh, that's excellent. Workflow is everything when working with boxes for studio things, and that is automatically connected. Boom. So now I can be producing, and if I want to get more hands-on and have a more real connected, fun and sort of tactile music production experience, I can change my spatial expander with this little box, this desktop interface for a digital plugin. Oh, it's very exciting. This is why. So, as I've said in 1 or 2 videos, where I place things in the room is an indicator of how much I use it and how good and how useful I think it is. So you can see, for example, this is where I sit. I have the Ableton push right in front of me. Boom, that's the best. And then next best is this, another TC electronic box called a Clarity M. It's a desktop metering system, so it shows me stereo image. What I'll show you? So it's a loudness, and then you go boom, and that's a spectrum analyzer, meters flash, insert the B-roll, boom, 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 cha-cha, and then you go boom again. Stereo image vector scope, insert B-roll again. So, cool. So you can see the stereo image right next to you. All of which, again, without having to do any setup. In the case of that box, it just plugs in directly into the sound card via digital audio. So you literally do 0 setup. Whatever comes through the sound card gets perfectly, and I mean perfectly, metered. Excellent. All the processing happens in the box as well. So again, not taxing your CPU. It's all about workflow. And so the next furthest thing away from the where I sit, what's in reach and so on, is these boxes. And that's because that's how good I think they are. It's just so much nicer to control things with a physical button. Again, also without having to manually map anything. Whilst yes, I could use, say, the Ableton push to use a twiddly bit to change a twiddly thing, or I could maybe map a button to do a button, and anybody got time for that. If I can just simply load a plugin and have everything already mapped to a nice, real-looking thing, it just feels nicer. It feels like I'm making music in a real way. And I like that. That's excellent. Not to mention, if I'm away from the studio and if I'm away from the studio, I don't have these boxes. If I'm away from the studio, the plugins still run. Yes, I have to control them with the mouse, but if I'm away from the studio and I don't have these to hand, the plugins still work. And so if I use these in a project, I can still use them. Yes, I have to use the mouse if I'm away from the studio, but I can still use them. Unlike analog, and so it literally is the best of both worlds. But multiplier, what do they do? They're boxes, and you said they're plugins. Excellent, but what actually do they do? I can explain that right now. So from the left, we have a digital delay, and then we have a vintage reverb. So digital delay, vintage reverb, then a classic reverb, and then a spatial expander. Normal sort of stuff. Now, are these the best specific delays and reverbs in the world? No. Are they in the top sort of category? Maybe the top 20%, but not the top 2%? Yes, absolutely. And that's the point. They're sufficiently good. They're great reverbs, they're great delays, great spatial expanders. Well, they're not plural, just one spatial expander. So it's a great spatial expander, for example, and it does the job sufficiently well. It's a professional sounding spatial expander, but because I can control it with this physical box, I end up using it more than a plugin that may, in some situations, be technically better. Take the reverb, for example. The vintage reverb and the classic reverb. My favorite reverb right now is the Fat Filter Pro R. And so yes, if I'm away from the studio, I would probably use Pro R, but if I'm in the studio, more often than not, I'm actually using one of these, just because I love having it next to me, being able to manually change it with a physical control. It's more enjoyable. But as I say, these still sound good. It's not like they're bad sounding. They're definitely very good. They're just not the top 1% of reverb, say, for example. But yeah, being able to control it physically is the future. It really is. I can see, there aren't that many companies that make these sorts of things for plugins, but I can foresee a future where most plugins have a physical box. In fact, I should start that business. I will stick it on the to-do list because genuinely I think it's just so much nicer having a physical box to manipulate. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's annoying using the mouse. I want to touch things and twiddle things and press buttons and move things and feel like I'm actually interacting with the music, because I'm a human with arms and legs and fingers and stuff. I want to press things and poke things and twist things. You can do it with these. Excellent. If I'm super clever, I'll put a link in the description below to... I'm not super clever. I won't do that. Just go, if you like the sound of these, the TC, I will read off the names. Desktop. They've got complicated sounding names. There is a reason for it. It's because of the old external gear it's referencing. But they are desktop interfaces made by TC Electronic. So I'm sure if you type in desktop interface TC Electronic, you'll see the list. There are 4 of them. Here they are. It's TC2290, DVR 250, TC 8210, TC 1210. Lots of numbers in there. You'll forget all of that immediately. So just Google on the internet. TC Electronic desktop interface is, if you're interested, and you can check them out if that sounds cool. And it's, as I say, the Clarity M is excellent as well. Even better in my opinion, but that's why it's second only to the Push. Oh, the Clarity M. Do see my video on that if desktop metering literally perfectly sounds good to you. Affordable as well. I like boxes that are good and you can press things and see things, and that's excellent. Yes. My name's Multiplier. Catch you guys on the flippity flip.